Melly is still behind bars after court was adjourned today, and I'll be real, it was a long day full of testimonies, people being cross-examined. I'm gonna play the part where Melly's grandmother took the stand first. Then I'm gonna come back and give my take on that, and then I'm gonna let you watch this other lady, Nakia, if I'm saying her name right, this girl who took the stand to say that she's his general manager or whatever, and she represents 100K management. And this security guard that promised to keep eyes on Melly 24/7, and how much he charging him a day to do that. But before we get into that, man, if you're new to the channel, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment down below. It's T-RaeTv, and over here, man, I don't give lies or spin narratives. I just say what I feel. Let's go.
My name is Audrey Gross, Audrey Gross, Gross.
Thank you. Ms. Gross, if you would, can you tell us where you reside? You don't have to give us the address, but where part of Florida you reside?
I reside in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. And ma'am, are you related to Mr. Jamel Demons?
Yes, I am. I'm his grandmother.
Okay, and can you tell His Honor what your familial connection is to him? How is it that you're his grandmother? Whose parent are you, etc.?
His mother is Jamie King, which is my daughter.
Okay. And ma'am, do you remember, can you tell us when Mr. Demons was born, where did you all live?
We lived in Vero Beach, Florida.
Okay. And up until shortly before your grandson's arrest, where did you live at that time?
Vero Beach, Florida.
Okay. And did Mr. Demons live in that location?
Yes.
Okay. And now, shortly before being arrested in the case that brings you here today, did he move to a different part of Florida?
Yes.
Okay. And what part of Florida was that?
Miami.
Okay. Now, what were you active in raising Mr. Demons?
Yes.
Okay. And there were some unique circumstances. His mom, I believe, was young.
Yes.
Okay. And how old was his mom when Mr. Demons was born?
14 and a half.
Okay. And what role did you play in raising Mr. Demons?
I acted as if I was the mother as well, and when his mother came home, I gave her that responsibility because I didn't want her to make that mistake again.
And when you say came home, what do you mean?
When she came home from school, or if she had her part-time job, she made sure her baby was taken care of, and she did an excellent job.
And did she go back to school and continue her schooling?
Yes, she graduated from Kaiser College.
Questions that are important for the reasons that we're here today.
Yes.
You know that he got into the music business in his teens, correct?
Yes.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, did Mr. Demons, Jamel Demons, your grandson, ever get a driver's license?
No.
Did your grandson ever get a passport to leave the United States?
No.
And so he has no driver's license and no passport, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Now, when you remember that he, in 2019, was arrested, do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And you know that he has been in custody now for 7 years?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk about the contact that you've had with him since 2019. Okay, is that fair? Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay. Before his arrest, would it be fair to say that you spent a lot of time with him?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And as far as you know, all the other family members spent a lot of time with him?
Not every last one of them.
But
a
which
few
ones?
of them.
Which ones did he spend the most time with?
He spent the most time with me, his grandmother Justine, his mom, his brother, and his sister.
And what about his great grandmother?
Yes, Justine.
Oh, okay. Now, after he was arrested in 2019, did you, as best you could, were you able to at first keep in contact with him?
Yes.
What were the methods by which you kept in contact with him?
I would write him.
Okay. Did you have any physical meetings with him while he was in custody?
I only got a chance to visit him a few times, and then everything just came to a complete stop. No communication at all.
Okay. And when you said a complete stop, you were prohibited from person-to-person meetings with him?
Yes, we couldn't go visit him. He wasn't receiving any mail.
No telephone contact?
No
Okay.
phone contact. I recently wrote my grandson, here's the card, return to sender.
And you sent that to him at the jail?
Yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, other family members, did they try sending him letters as well?
yes.
And did their letters get sent back similarly to yours?
I can't answer that because I don't know for sure.
Okay, thank you. Now, has it been difficult for you at least to not have physical, telephone, even written correspondence contact
Yes.
with your grandson?
Yes, it broke my heart not being able to communicate, not knowing where his mental mind is, just to hear his voice. Yes, it was very difficult.
Now, I neglected to ask you, you're full-time employed?
Yes, I am.
And what type of work do you do, ma'am?
I am a deli clerk at Publix.
Okay, how long have you been with them?
11 years.
Okay, good for you. If His Honor grants that request, do you feel confident that you at least will be there to physically support, emotionally support, psychologically support your grandson?
Yes,
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to talk to other relatives, such as his great-grandmother and some of the cousins and uncles and aunts that you mentioned?
yes,
Is it your understanding that if His Honor allows Mr. Demons a release pending his trial, that the other family members will support him throughout that period of time?
yes,
Okay. Is it your understanding that the family members will do their best as loved ones to make sure that he honors the terms and conditions, whatever they may be, as set forth by His Honor?
yes.
Just 1 second. 1 second, Your Honor. Yes, sir. Ma'am, I know that when he was first born, you all were in Ohio, and then you immediately moved to Florida, correct?
Not immediately, but shortly.
Okay. After a couple of years?
Yes.
Okay. And based on the fact that I've had time to speak to you before, other than that, to your knowledge, Mr. Demons has never lived anywhere outside the state of Florida, correct?
Never.
Okay. And his living would have been Vero Beach area and also right before his arrest, the Broward County area, correct?
Yes,
But again, other than when he was a little baby, never lived anywhere outside the state of Florida.
yes.
That's all, Your Honor.
Mine is her using all the extra emotions to get her point across. This wasn't bad. And when I say extra emotions, she kind of like Jamie, her daughter, when it comes to them trying to paint Melly as the victim. Like, they be trying to make it, like, how they talk, they tone and voice and stuff, they be trying to paint it and spin it like Melly is the victim in all this and not the suspect. But I give her credit for, just how she went about the passport and him not having a license, because that kind of does take the weight off of worrying about him trying to flee the country or something like that. If they was to give him a bond, he can't go nowhere if he ain't got the means to, So if he ain't got no money, he ain't got no passport, no license, where can he go? And this just proves too how long Melly's been locked up. He was barely legal when he got famous. He's been in jail 7 years, and tomorrow is his birthday. I feel like when you put all that into perspective, just think, and he ain't never, finna be 26, 27 years old. All this stuff done stunted his growth like hell. Like, technology done changed, and some more shit. It's kind of funny to me, when I hear people try to say that this FaceTime video is AI. Because I'm like, man, Melly been so out of touch with technology. If he was to hear somebody say something like that to him, like there was an AI video, that might trigger something and make him tweak, like you trying to call him a robot or some shit. And he might admit that to him being on the fucking call or something. It ain't funny, but like this dude been in jail before COVID. She said that they ain't been had no contact with him. Like no letters been getting through, no phone calls or nothing. And I'm sitting here when she say that thinking to myself, like, who gonna tell grandma the reason that these letters ain't been getting through or why she ain't heard from her grandbaby? Is because he been in the back causing hell. And he probably got a lot of his privileges took. So when she got on that part like that, I'm like, yeah, I get it, but you kind of like going off the road a little bit right here because you must not know what he got going on back there. And if you ain't been informed, somebody need to let you know. Because if you've been trying to send a letter in the last 2 or 3 years, shit, they've been stacking like dominoes somewhere in the office collecting dust. He for sure ain't got none of them motherfuckers. Now we're about to listen to the label manager talk about how important it is for Melly to get out, even though she ain't never met this boy a day in her life. This is the label manager now, the lady that's supposed to be representing 100K management. And I feel like this wasn't just as smart as they might have thought it was thinking this through when they sent this girl in here. Man, y'all check this out right here.
Should I tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please be seated. And once you are seated, I get you to scoot that chair forward. You can adjust that microphone so it's pointed directly at your mouth. Can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
My full name is Nikia Marhadi Pathan. First name is Nikaya. Last name Marhadi Mirhadi -Pathon.
Can you do the first part of your last name?
Marhadi Mirhadi.
And then hyphen Pathon.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Thank you. Ma'am, can you please identify what your employment is?
I am the general manager of 100K Management.
And where are you physically located with 100K Management?
I reside in Queens, New York, and we work remote.
Okay. And where are the physical locations of 100K Management?
In Broward County, Florida.
Okay. Can you describe to His Honor what 100K Management is?
So we are the management company for artists and recording artists. We also have athletes and enter into production as well. But we pretty much assist in guiding the careers of our artists.
Okay. And can you explain to His Honor what a management company is?
So management, we pretty much just help, like I said, manage the career of artists. We help with branding, attending deals for our artists, making sure that delivery of product is always on time to their respective labels, and we also assist in some personal life matters as well, but mostly with their careers.
And now, when did you first start with 100K Management?
So I first started in 2020 as an intern. And then I officially became the general manager in January of last year, 2025.
Why his manager can't come and talk for him? Like his real manager. His real manager. I'm talking about the one that really know him. The one that know all his music. The one that's been advocating for his client this whole time. Why he ain't doing the talking right now and trying to prove to the court why his client should get a bond? Why this girl up there just basically wasting air and space, if you ask me? Or who you talking about, Trey? 100K track. Like, okay.
Now, to be clear with His Honor, you've never met Mr. Demens, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. At the request of the defense, did you, however, as general manager, review the employment records of Mr. Demens?
Yes, I have reviewed all records.
Okay. And as general manager, even though you've never met him and he's been incarcerated for more than 7 years, he continues to be a client of 100K Management, correct?
Yes,
And so you've actually been managing his work,
Yes.
having never met him.
yes.
Okay. If you'd be so kind as to explain what it means to be managing someone who's actually incarcerated.
It's a little bit difficult. We obviously don't have a lot of contact or any contact really, so a lot of the decisions are based on what is best for our client and, just making sure that we make the best decisions and make sure that things are handed in on time to, help assist in furthering his career with what we have.
Okay. Now, from reviewing his records, when did he first become a client of 100K Management?
2017, and then he signed with management, yes.
Okay. And from reviewing his records, were you able to determine, so you can explain to the court, was he somebody that fulfilled his obligations? In other words, if he was required to write music, perform music, record music, was he meeting those expectations, or was he a lazy employee? If you could just explain to His Honor what you've been able to determine from reviewing his work records.
Yes, I was able to determine that everything was handed in on time. Everything was, regularly processed, no issues. If there was a request asked of Mr. Demens, it was always fulfilled in a timely manner. And from my records, I have no issues.
Now, for the court's understanding, you're a management company. Did he and does he have a label?
Yes, he does.
And who would that be?
300 Entertainment.
Okay. And is that a division of a major corporation?
Yes.
And who is that? Who is 300 a division of?
Atlantic Music Group.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that's a huge corporation?
Yes.
And is Mr. Demens still under that label?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the difference, so His Honor can understand, and all of us, between a management company and a label? What does the label do?
So label is really more on the distribution of the music and sometimes funding of the music, but management is a lot more hands-on. We help with, sometimes the creation, whether that's setting up studio. We work on clearances. We work on, obtaining features for artists, things like that. And then, as I said earlier, also just helping with the branding of the products and the branding of the artists as well.
Okay. And does the label continue to maintain its relationship after 7 years with Mr. Demens?
Yes.
And without getting too specific about all the different music he's done, let me go back and ask this. When Mr. Demens recorded music, and if he makes bond and continues to record music, is it fair to say that these corporate entities vet the music that's released?
Yes, we always vet everything that is released. There's a pretty lengthy process. There's listening meetings, as I said, there's clearances, so we really have to make sure and go through everything to make sure that everything is essentially kosher to be released to the public.
And that's lyrical as well, correct?
Yes.
So it is vetted by transactional people, whether it be lawyers or executives, review the music of Mr. Demens then, and that would be now as well, correct?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
Lawyers, legal, everything.
Okay. And what I'm trying to be clear, we hear a lot of cases in these courtrooms, this is very different than 3 guys renting out a studio and just writing songs,
Yes,
correct?
it's
This is
very
very
different.
corporate
Yes.
focused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you, is it your understanding that you understand why we're here, we're seeking the court to issue an order to establish certain conditions under which Mr. Demens can be released on bond before his trial. You understand that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so, Your Honor, we've been in contact with the state about an address that he would stay at if he made bond, and the state agrees with us that we should not publish that address. We'll have another witness get to it, and we're happy to approach at some point. We've agreed via email to just sidebar and give that information to Your Honor. There'll be another witness, our fifth witness, will talk about his inspection, but he's been told not to reveal the name, the address.
Understood.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, does the company own a home, and please don't talk about the address, in Broward County that they're prepared to let Mr. Demens stay in should he be released on bond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is there a recording studio built into the home that he can do work?
Yes.
Okay. And is it your understanding that if he is released on bond, under whatever conditions the court sets forth, that he will, from your side and the label side, be expected to produce work?
Yes.
Okay. And based on what you viewed before, do you see anything that would indicate that there would be any problems with that in terms of him meeting expectations?
Nothing right now.
We'll be later asking the court in our conditions of release that he be prohibited from social media, and we understand that's even more important now than ever. Would he still be able to fulfill his work requirements if he's prohibited from using social media?
Yes, he would, yeah.
Just 1 second, Your Honor. That's all, Your Honor.
What y'all think about that, man? I mean, I get it. You know, do the best you can, but this was weak. She started working in 2020. Melly got locked up in 2019. So if you ain't know him prior to him being locked up and you just work for the label, how are you a strong help right now for him to get a bond? You don't know this boy from a can of paint. You just really here to do your job. Like, man, I'm like, well, they want to track little shorties or something like that, his little shoulders up there or something, you know. Oh, that could make it make sense, man. You ain't never met Melly a day in your life. How are you able to just speak and prove to the court that he needs to come home? The security guard got up there and can barely speak English or talk it, but he got a plan to protect Melly 24/7.
Mr. Delgado, you've never testified before, have you? Okay, I know you're a little nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Delgado, can you explain to His Honor what business you are in?
Yes. I'm a CEO of YNW Civil Protection. It's a company based in Miami, Florida. Also, we provide services worldwide. Our team is built by military and law enforcement.
You're going to have to slow down a little bit.
Shit. Yeah, all right.
There you go, sir.
Better?
Okay.
Okay, sorry. All right. I will say, I'm the CEO of VND Executive Protection. I'm the CEO of VND Executive Protection.
VND.
Executive Protection. And can you describe what V&D Executive Protection does?
Yes, we provide executive protection services, residential security, tool security, armed cars, transportation, bulletproof trucks. Like I say, our team is built by military and law enforcement. My director of operation is a former Marine sniper, and my other operation guy is Navy civilian and also law enforcement.
Okay.
Myself, I used to be an instructor for a few police departments for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and self-defense tactics.
And are you a former MMA fighter
Yes.
yourself?
Yes,
Professional?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so in summary, you have executive protection. And can you just quickly describe for His Honor the type of people that you provide protection for?
Corporate clients, athletes, celebrities, entertainers, and pretty much two royal families, one in Miami, which I can't say the names, and the other one from Dubai when they come out here.
Okay.
That's it. One family in Miami and some royal family from Dubai you can't even name. If anything, this is the time right here, dude, where you should have been ready to name drop just to boost your value in the courtroom. Like y'all get what I'm saying? Now, like this ain't the time for you to be sitting up here and trying to be confidential, like on who you done jobs for, nigga. Don't nobody know you by face. You ain't known in the security industry. For security, nobody, and you barely can speak and understand English. Like, no disrespect, like you are not an industry name or a known security service. Because if you was, you would be way more confident in these answers that you giving. Like that's just me.
Now, without giving the address, did you, at my request and the request of the defense, do an inspection on a home in Broward County?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And you understand that we represent Mr. Demons, Jamal Demons, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Jamal Demons. And do you know who he is?
No, sir.
Okay. When I contacted you, do you have any idea who he is?
No, sir.
Okay. And you've since found out through your research that Mr. Demons is a musician, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've learned that he's been incarcerated for 7 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, before we talk specifics about the work that you've done, that you potentially could do, regardless of whether it's a celebrity or someone was a celebrity 7 years ago, or it's a corporate executive, do you place who that person is professionally above doing the right thing, and that is complying with the laws of the state of Florida and the United States?
Clients are client, and I make sure myself and my team, nobody know regulations or law. Our job is protected with protect our client, but at the same time, we're not allowed to break any law.
Okay. So in other words, you create no friendly relationship with the client.
My job is to work from point A to B, and that's it.
Okay. Now, you did a full inspection of a certain home in Broward County, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Without saying the address of the home, can you give like the approximate size of the home and a
Yes.
physical description? You don't have to be too detailed, for His Honor.
Yes, it's a gated community with 24/7 security. They got 4 entrances and 4 exits. Each one they got one armed security guards, and then they have police going there pretty much every hour. Because the police station is literally like 2 blocks away from there.
Okay. And Mr. Delgado, I've explained to you before that we're asking His Honor to give our client pretrial release before a trial coming up in January. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if Mr. Demons is released on bond and there are conditions, for example, that your company's responsibility is, let's say, for him to go to court to make sure that you protect the community
100%.
and him, will you follow those instructions?
Yes, sir.
If there is a court order that says if he does anything that is deemed to be inconsistent with this order, you'll report to any authority that His Honor would require, whether it be the court, probation, even Madam Prosecutor. Would you do as the court instructed?
Yes, sir. And myself and my team will be very careful. Our team and myself, my team and myself, we care about our reputation. So we don't, like I said, we track clients, like regular clients. We don't give no privileges out here. And then we follow rules. The fact, my team is law enforcement, we follow every order. And I'll be the first person who reported it, I have to do it.
And if because we're offering up and if His Honor, because we're offering up your professional security services that are used for corporate executives as well as entertainers and athletes, if His Honor structures a bond order that requires even more responsibility for protecting the community and even Mr. Demons than just to and from court, whatever that would be, would you honor the court's request as stated forth in an order?
Yes, sir.
And would you personally study that order to make sure that there was full compliance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if the court, for example, ordered, at least when Mr. Demons was in your presence, something like no social media, would you do everything in your power through your assistants to make sure that he complied by studying the household, studying his possessions, etc., to make sure that he complied strictly with everything that the court required?
Yes, sir. I say we make sure nobody hang it up.
Okay. I apologize. We heard through previous testimony that it's a single-family house, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that inside that house, there are facilities that he could work. In other words, there's an actual music studio in there. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you corroborated that yourself,
I
correct?
got a studio, 3 rooms, and 3 bathrooms.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I neglected, without getting too specific, to give away the location of the house. You also said that if you're retained, you would require the home to have certain surveillance cameras installed,
Yes, sir.
because it would help you get your job done to better keep the home and the community secure, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you furnish those to us so that we can accomplish those goals in order for you to accept a written contract by us on behalf of Mr. Demons, correct?
I will value all the logistics and all the inspection to the studio, so you can see everything.
Okay. And so those were done because you want complete visibility at all times, so you can make sure when you're involved that the court's order is being complied with, correct?
Yes, because I don't want to put myself in a situation where
That's all. Thank you.
Y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. You know what I'm saying? I guess, man, there's a lot of responsibility, so it gotta make sense on the money end too, right? And he get cross-examined by the prosecutor, and as soon as she come up and ask him, hey, how much are you planning on charging Melly and his team for these services that you about to provide? Listen to his response, if you can understand it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Delgado. How much would you be charging the defendant for 24/7 surveillance?
Can I say it?
Yes?
I was thinking the time, the private money we charge a company is about $65 for a day for 24/7.
You said $6,800
Yes, ma'am.
a day.
Yeah, for 24/7, 12 hours.
Okay. And were you hired, if the defendant is released, to have 24/7
Yes,
surveillance?
that was the condition I thought of.
Okay. And so $6,800 a day until he's potentially released if he's found not guilty, correct?
No, it's, as soon as he got released, or he retained me, I'll be charged those things.
Okay, so you haven't officially been retained yet.
I've been officially retained for today, and we go to January, get stay with to January.
Okay. All right. So with 24/7 surveillance, does that mean that someone such as yourself or someone on your team would be in the bedroom with him while he's sleeping?
We don't have cameras, like I said, we inspect the house, we don't have like dark in and out of the house. Also, the community is a gated community, so I present myself with the association over there, tell them I got a potential client coming up. If he does, we want to be outside, inside the house. So just to avoid situations, people thinking was going to see a car outside with the lights or a car outside armored. So I was thinking to provide between 1 and 2 cars.
Okay, for 24 hours a day.
Yes, so pretty much with the key no yellow.
And so they won't always be side by side with the defendant, correct?
Yes, because the house is pretty much, like I say, it's not big. It's 3 rooms, plus the studio. So pretty much the house got access for people looking in the house, outside, around the pool area, so you can see what is going on, okay, everything, because the house is full of glasses. in front of glass so you can see, trust me, which room I already, specifically I went to this room to see how many entries I actually had. He only got one entry. Go to that pool. So I told my guard, make sure whoever's there, we're gonna put civilian cameras outside the pool. Make sure it's proven in case something happened. We can follow the call order.
And can you give me a list of every single person that would have access to this camera system?
Myself, I'm a 2-day operations.
Okay, would the defendant have access to it?
No.
Would his attorneys have access to it?
I was thinking no in the moment because he didn't ask me for it, but I was thinking it's myself. I'm a 2-day operation. I have few residentials, and only we allowed to see myself. I'm a 2-day operation. Yes, for safety purposes, in case something happened, that will help me out because I approve our videos.
And are the cameras Wi-Fi based?
Yes, high definition, night vision, sensor, everything. I already provided the information to my camera guy, and they already went to the house, inspected. As soon as he gave me that order, then we started.
And will someone be watching these cameras 24/7 as well?
Yes, the guard was there, and myself. So pretty much whatever guard I put in the house, we had access to monitor the cameras, myself, and my 2-day operations.
And where are these cameras going to be set up within the home?
One in the front, 2 on both sides, 2 in the back, one before the pool, close to the room. So it's pretty much going to be a full high definition camera. So when normally the guy had to use, when he connected the camera to the house, he put it that way you can see the whole house super clear.
How about the bedroom?
Everything. Because the thing that bedroom's inside, the only way I can see the bedroom is when they close it, when the curtains. But when the curtains open, if we feel something's weird, we already told him we go inside to figure out what's going on.
So that's what I'm asking. You're not going to be placing cameras within the bedrooms themselves?
I was thinking, no, at least that court requirement, because I don't want to see somebody privacy, in the bathroom he can be himself, sleeping naked, who knows. So it's a private area, but if you guys require, we do it. There's no problem with that. Like I say, I'm here to follow whatever court order sends it.
No further questions.
$6,000 a day is crazy. And I just say that, especially like in Melly's situation and what he got going on, man, that's too much fucking money. I'll tell you why I said that in a second, but the DA asks you questions you got to be prepared for because they trying to make sure you got everything secured if you're going to be secured, like from every angle. Like you got all your ducks in a row. So you got to have a solution or a setup to make sure this dude ain't got no social media, no communication to the outside world that he shouldn't be talking to, and he shouldn't be talking to nobody else. Excuse me. 24-hour watch, on cameras from every angle. So he giving this whole rundown, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it's crazy how people get in trouble and gotta pay so much to get out of trouble. Because out of all this stuff that he's saying, he just gave the whole shebang. I'm talking about, y'all saw that video. All this whole little rundown. I'm like, man. And then for you to say $800 a day, man, that ain't nothing but a waste of money, man. To be paying over $6,000 a day for this dude to be inside the house, pretty much doing what he already doing in jail. Now, some people would say freedom is freedom. I don't care how it look. And if that's how you feel, I give you that one. I see where you coming from on that. All I'm saying is, to me, my honest opinion, it's just sad to see all this money just go down the drain for nothing. This just is a waste of fucking money. In the closing argument, Drew Findling, he tried to put it on thick with this, little sob story about how it's ironic Melly's birthday is coming up tomorrow and he's been locked up since he was 19 and since 2019, stuff like that. Y'all
Proof, evidence, presumption, great. I know that the state is relying on the transcript which Your Honors had an opportunity to review. There was a hearing approximately 51 weeks ago. There have been change of circumstances which I'll outline for the court, we believe, over the course of the last, let's say, approximately 1 year. And I would say it's somewhat ironic. We've heard testimony about our client going into custody in 2019 at 19 years old. The irony is that tomorrow this young man turns 27 years old, and he's been in custody since 19 without ever having been found guilty of a single offense, with one indictment having already been voluntarily non-processed by the state.
But for right now, you can really just go somewhere with that, honestly, because but this is the tactic. This is what lawyers do, and pay attention right here because it's finna get real in this closing argument, and this is where Detective Moretti's credibility comes into question. Now you finna see Drew Findling kind of like saying most of the interview was all hearsay, and like I said earlier, you know, in the beginning of this video, looking back in hindsight, what he did, it was kind of bad. What he did was all fucked up, but they just was trying to secure a conviction by any means necessary because, man, them folks knew how people were playing it on the street, or like all this tampering and all that cricket shit was going on. It just wasn't his place as law enforcement to muddy the waters the way that he did, because all that did was just further kind of mess things up. Looking back in hindsight, especially with what's going on now. Like, you still gotta do your job the right way. You can't just be, you know, just lying and just doing shady shit.
But we find ourselves here, and I want to address proof evident presumption great. And the first thing I want to talk about is one of the change of circumstances is that Judge Murphy's granting of the motion to suppress has been affirmed by the Court of Appeals. And it's worth noting that not only was it affirmed, but no good faith exception even applied. And the gist of that affirmative finding and the underlying motion to suppress goes to the credibility of Detective Moretti. Cases where somebody, for whatever reason, is removed from a case and a new person comes in and picks up what they did. But hey, if this case goes to trial, bring him on, because he's a liar. And so then we have ultimately the motion to suppress that is affirmed by the Court of Appeals, which casts doubt again on his credibility. And so when Your Honor does the proof evident presumption great, I ask you to take all of these into consideration, and of course what we talked about earlier, and the fact that a co-defendant who, if you read the indictment, is side by side culpability wise, that case is dismissed. And I just would argue to the court that all of those just chisel away at the court's previous finding of a year ago. And so unless the court wants me to do otherwise, I'll hold off on the second part of the argument until after the state goes. Do the whole thing? Okay, thank you.
That's everything in proof evidence.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then if I exercise discretion, or if I agree with you and I find the circumstances have changed, I don't find proof evidence presumption great, it's exactly what you want.
Yep, I will. Thank you. Give me 1 second. Your Honor, in looking at your statutes and looking at your law, I ask you to exercise that discretion and set a reasonable bond. And I'm going to talk in a second about the conditions of release that can be reasonable. And I first want to talk about protecting the community from risk of physical harm. There was nothing presented in the case regarding Mr. Demons that in any way involves his threat to the community. And most important to me is when we talk about this second process is assuring the integrity of the judicial process. So I want to talk about the conditions of release that we would suggest. First, I want the court to think about the testimony that we just heard from Matthew Norman, a distinguished forensic psychiatrist that honestly, you heard he's from Georgia. I've really been more against him than with him. We've had some battles through the years, and he's an incredibly ethical and devoted to this issue and all forensic issues regarding mental health. It's worthy of note to me that the state had no cross-examination. And in like fashion, I know that last year there was, I think at the hearing they were going to offer somebody and they served notice like the day before, and we would never do that. We served notice in plenty of time, and I'm sure that that's something the state looked into. But here's what I'm also sure of, just like there was no cross-examination. There's not a mental health expert in America that would agree that these conditions that we heard about are healthy for somebody that went into custody at 19. There's no need to cross-examine because there's nothing to ask, because it's irrefutable what we heard. It's irrefutable. It's irrefutable that 27% of Mr. Demon's life has been incarcerated without having been found guilty of a single offense. If we look at him from the time he was turned majority in the state of Florida at 18, 30.5% of his life has been incarcerated. I've looked into the cognitive state, begins, they say, at 3 years old.
Cortland Henry's statement, Drew, and the angle that he gave on this, and to take Melly out of the crime completely, he trying to put this off on Bortlen, man. I'm starting to think that the statement he gave to Detective Moretti, whether it was a lie or the truth, it kind of just put him further in the blender. Now, what's going to happen with that, I don't know, but I feel like for what it's worth with what Drew Findling is doing in court, he cooking with that. Because if he can prove that Melly wasn't in the car off of these narratives and how he's spinning it, shit, it ain't what you know. Is what you can prove, man. That's a little mind.
Your Honor, some other issues to take into consideration, and that is what is different between now and then from your last time you reviewed this 51 weeks ago, is that Cortland Henry, who was charged as a co-defendant in this case and charged with murder in the first degree with the use of a firearm in counts 1 and 2. Cortland Henry, who the state in that first transcript believed was lying from the first trial, who the state went out of their way to show that he had gunshot residue, he had GSR on his hand. The state went out of their way to show that he had DNA on his clothing, that the state dismissed those murder charges. We don't know. All we know is in that transcript. That transcript, the court made some observations at the beginning of the day. We don't know from what his statement is. All we know is what he gave. But what we do know is that at that time he was charged with murder. For whatever reason, given all this, the state's assessment of this case is that his case, without any cooperation, was worthy of a dismissal. And that should speak volumes to the court when the court is assessing proof evident presumption grade. Because there's really nothing in the record that the court could look at. Nothing evidentiary in the volumes that you've looked at to distinguish these two individuals, Mr. Henry or Mr. Demons. And so that's yet another thing to take into consideration. To the extent that the court has looked at the tampering case a year ago, because a year ago that case existed, to the extent that that was something that the court was contemplative about. Your Honor knows that we got in this case, I believe, last August, and Ms. Howard and I, from the very, very beginning, were absolutely committed to trying that case. There was no attempt for us to continue the case. As the court noted, we came into the case, filed a series of motions. Quite frankly, from a defense perspective, there wasn't a lot done on the case. We really weren't clear which of the attorneys was actually in the case and who were not in the case. But we came in and not wanting to continue anything, trying to handle things with efficiency and promptness, filed our motions, ready to go. We laughed yesterday as we prepped for today about we had text messages and phone calls on Christmas Eve. We were in communication through the holidays. Your Honor was kind enough to have 250 jurors ready. I believe you said you had 250 backup. The day before that trial, the case was dismissed with what we thought was without explanation. And then, of course, as we noted in our motion for bond, in our footnote 1 or 2, the state issued a statement about not wanting to wait for a ruling by the court. That's just unacceptable. And the bottom line is that the state didn't give Mr. Demons the ability to get his not guilty verdict. Because I'll say right now, that would have been a 30-minute not guilty verdict. It would have taken 25 minutes to choose a foreperson and 5 minutes to deliberate, and he's found not guilty in that case. So he was denied that opportunity to get his not guilty. So when we look at the first issue of proof evident, presumption great, and I know these are issues that the court is very aware of, and it's interesting, and Your Honor, I think pro hoc vici is not a right, but it's a privilege, and I appreciate that privilege, and I'm trying to do everything I can to understand, because things are different when you travel around. But some things are not different. So here's what's not different when we use this incredibly high standard in the state of Florida, which is beyond guilt and reasonable doubt. And that is that this is a case that a jury was not able to render a verdict. One, this is a case with no DNA implicating Mr. Demons. Two, this is a case with no fingerprints implicating Mr. Demons. Three, this is a case with no surveillance showing that he had anything to do with being in a vehicle or, more importantly, shooting anybody. Four, this is a case with no eyewitnesses whatsoever. Five, this is a case where we have a detective, the lead detective that ties the bow and brings it home at the end, that is asking another officer to lie. Your Honor, I'm not one of those lawyers that says at night, you know, God, what a crappy profession. I hate it. I love being a lawyer. My history is full. That's how Ms. Howard and I are friends. We're not friends from trying cases. We never tried a case together. We have both been committed our whole careers to bar associations and teaching young lawyers. That's the foundation of our friendship. So we're both lawyers that are honored to be lawyers and respect the other side. Respect, you'll never hear me condemning prosecutors, and I always will jump at the opportunity to represent somebody in blue because our society needs them. But here's what we don't need. We don't need a lead detective pinned up against a public integrity prosecutor and right in front of her trying to get another officer to lie. That casts doubt on everything that Moretti does, everything that he touches, and I will be the first person to be shocked if he stays lead detective in this case.
That's how today went, and it's plain to see what Drew is doing. You know, he's starting all the way from the beginning, breaking down, showing you how this investigation was just done wrong from the get-go, at least from his point of view. And watching the closing argument and him defending Melly's innocence didn't stand out to me as much as him trying to discredit this lead detective in this case. And that's how I know they ain't got much to work with. His defense team. This man went on a 40-minute rant over exaggerating one fact to debunk the whole investigation and make it seem like Detective Moretti was on some Denzel Washington training day type shit. So like I see, when I'm looking at everything that's going on, that's why I'm like, if it worked, cool. But in all honesty, this all you really got to work with. Because if you completely take Detective Moretti off the case as the lead detective, then everything from the statements, that were given to him by certain people, like Mariah Hamilton's mama, all that stuff like that, all that shit just kind of like go out the window. So that when I say he's starting at the beginning, or that's why he's trying to discredit him so much and make it seem like just off of one thing he did, it fucked everything up. But using common sense, it's like, man, this man was really just playing the game the same way that these motherfuckers were playing it, because he knew all the crooked shit that was going on. Only thing Drew can do is try to find a way to take Melly completely off the crime scene based on Bortlen's false statements and put the murder on him, and try to make it seem like, based on what Detective Moretti did, his whole investigation is non-credible, and get him took completely off of the case. You know what y'all think about that, man? Is that good strategy? Was today a win for Melly? You know, do we got a good chance on getting a bond? It's like they gotta pretty much, I guess, keep checking online to see whether or not. But y'all leave in the comments, let me know what y'all think too. Like, y'all think today was worth Melly getting a bond? Like, did they come with a strong enough bond package for him to go home and be free by Monday? Is this the perfect birthday present over the weekend for Melly?
Damn,